Hey guys, it's Yogi here and welcome to the channel for my final review on the Track Racer TR80. I've had the rig for just over 5.5 months now, as is the beginning of July when I completed assembly. But since then I've spent plenty of time just driving, practicing in the rig, doing numerous league races and even a 24-hour endurance race. So I feel now that I am happy and confident enough to give you my final impressions, my final thoughts and opinions on this Track Racer TR80 and do a proper comprehensive review. If you want a bit of an overview of the Track Racer TR80, then I did cover that in my initial impressions video and I'll link that up in the top right hand corner. Now, although I am a brand ambassador for Track Racer, I do want to be completely open and honest with you guys and let you know that Track Racer sent this rig through to me for free. Despite that though, all the thoughts and opinions here in this video are completely my own, built off of my own experiences of building and obviously using the rig. I also just wanted to say that the two Track Racer links down in the video description below are also sponsored links, so if you are looking to potentially purchase a sim rig in the future, or you are looking to upgrade your sim rig and you are considering Track Racer's products, if you were to click on either the EU or UK Track Racer store links in any of the descriptions for any of my videos, I will get a small commission from that, and of course I'll be very thankful for your support in myself and the channel. So with that disclaimer done and out of the way, let's actually get into the review of the Track Racer TR80, and we're going to begin by talking about the build process. Obviously, when you very first take delivery of the rig, you want to check through and make sure that all the parts and everything are in good condition. Thankfully for myself that there was no issues, all the parts were there, all the nuts and bolts and screws and everything that I needed were there present in all of the packaging. Track Racer have made it clear to me that if there was any parts missing or if there were any aluminium profiles that were scratched and you're unhappy with or anything was damaged, that if you got in contact with their customer service team, they'll get that sorted and replaced as soon as physically possible. But the actual assembly process was relatively easy to follow thanks to the comprehensive instructions manuals that Track Racer provide on their website for not only this rig but all of their products. At the beginning of each instructions manual is a full list of all the various parts that you are going to need and their quantities, so you know ahead of time exactly how many nuts, bolts, screws and things you're going to be needing for the assembly of your rig, which is obviously going to be critical that you make sure that everything is there, because there's going to be absolutely nothing worse than you start assembling the rig and you find that 90% of the way through you don't have the screws or bolts that you were meant to have in order to complete the assembly process. But for me it was a pretty enjoyable process. It was just one that took a reasonable amount of time, somewhere between the region of about 12, 15, maybe 16 hours to assemble the rig completely. There was one slight sticky point that I had, but that was mainly due to me trying to rush things a little bit. I got a little bit excited. So if you kind of take a moment to read the instructions properly and actually be patient with the rig building process, you shouldn't really run into too many hiccups. Once the frame of the rig was assembled, it was then a case of obviously mounting the monitor, the wheelbase and the pedals to the actual rig. I would recommend before doing this though that you actually move the rig into the position that is going to permanently sit. Obviously if you're tight for space, you may need to mount either your monitor or your pedals onto the pedal deck first in order to obviously actually have access to those areas. But yeah, if you're adding weight to what is an already heavy rig, it's going to be quite difficult to move. You probably will need to basically use multiple people in order to move the rig once it is fully assembled. But I will say now that the rig is actually bigger than it is described on the website. It says that the rig is 1.25 meters in length, but when in reality my pedal tray is actually overhanging the one end of the rig by about 10 centimeters or so, and then where I've got my seat on quite a bit of a recline, in fact the furthest recline that it will possibly go to in terms of actually the mounting position of it, it adds on another probably 20-30 centimeters at the opposite end. So all in all, my rig is probably sat somewhere between the region of 1.5-1.6 meters. So do bear that in mind when purchasing a rig, obviously making sure that you've got the space available for it. But all in all, the build process was fun, enjoyable, and went pretty smoothly. All the aluminium pieces that I received didn't have any scratches or markings. There was one that had some slight scuffing, which I'll provide a picture that you can see here. But as I mentioned earlier, Track Racer did reassure me that if I wanted that part replaced, I'll just have to let them know, and they would have sent out a replacement part, and they obviously want to reiterate that to you guys as well. So let's talk about flex in the Track Racer TR80, and obviously where it is an 80x40 aluminium rig, the actual main part of the rig itself is extremely sturdy, very rigid, and providing that you've got everything tightened down, it is barely going to move or budge at all. There is a couple of places where there is a little bit of flex. Thankfully, the pedal tray isn't one of those. As you said, if you've got everything tightened up properly, it should be completely solid and rigid. I'm using a load cell pedal with these Fanatec B3s, and I haven't really noticed any flex. If there is any, it's probably going to be between the actual mounting of the pedals to the pedal tray. That's about the only place where there is maybe a tiny little bit of place, so I probably just need to tighten up the screws there just to make sure that that is properly rock solid. The wheel deck itself is very solid. That doesn't move at all. There is a tiny bit of play between the wheel base and the wheel deck, but I think that's more on Thrustmaster's part, not providing a third screw mounting point. If they provided that, it'd probably make the actually fit the wheelbase to the wheel deck a lot more securely and prevent any kind of movement that way. And then the only other place on the actual rig itself where there's a little bit of movement is on the H shifter, but all I've got is my Stream Deck sat on that. I don't use that for an actual H shifter or a stick shift or anything like that, so that doesn't bother me at all. Even then, the play is relatively small and pretty minimal. There is one other place where there is a little bit of movement and a little bit of flex, and that is coming from the seat. It's not coming from the seat mounting point. The actual mounting brackets are very solid, but the actual seat construction itself, the backrest where it's made of fiberglass, it does move a little bit when you get very hard on the brake. It doesn't feel like it is going to snap or break or anything like that. It just feels like it is moving and just absorbing the forces as it naturally would when you are exerting that much force, pushing hard down on the brake and obviously trying to stop the car. Obviously that force kind of goes through your leg and up through your body, and it pushes into the seat. So this top part here, the actual backrest, does move slightly, as you could probably see a little bit there as I'm moving backwards and forwards, but it's pretty minimal. It's not that big, and you don't really notice it whilst driving. As for the seat itself, I mentioned back in my first impressions video that it is a nice comfortable seat to sit in, and it still is after 5.5 months. I've not had any issues with it at all. It is, as I mentioned, nice and comfy. It provides plenty of support for my back. I have considered getting some lumbar support. I still haven't done that as of yet, so I may need to explore that option in the future just to provide that little bit of extra support on my lower back. But with the slight recline that it's got, there's plenty of support there from the base all the way up to my shoulders, and there's plenty of support underneath my thighs without actually it interfering with my pedals. So obviously we're talking a little bit about positioning here, and I have done a recent video that covers the ideal seating position for a GT style sim rig. Link to that up above as well, another little shameless plug. But when it comes to the range of adjustability on the rig, you've got a whole lot of room to play with. All the aluminium profiles have slots that run the full length of the profile, so you can mount whatever you would like pretty much anywhere off of those. When it comes to the seat, there is a little bit more restriction there. There are 3 mounting points at the front and 6 mounting points at the rear. Between the two, it basically controls how high above the floor your seat is actually positioned, and then it also allows you to also control the amount of recline or the amount of angle that you put into the seat and how far it leans back. When it comes to the wheel deck, you've got 3 holes to basically control the amount of tilt put into the pedal deck to make sure that the wheel is in the right position and pointing up towards your shoulders. You've then also got a little bit of room to move the overall wheel deck backwards and forwards, as you can see here along these slots. Likewise with the integrated monitor mounts that come off of these vertical arms, you can see that there are slots here. There is quite a bit of range that available for you to play with here to move the monitors, or these arms, shall I say, that the monitors or the overall monitor mounting is kind of mounted off of, and that will allow you to control how far or how close the monitor is to you when you're sat in the seat. But with those two main, or shall I say, the main vertical profiles, one on either side, if you move those along the overall base profile, that will allow you to control how far away the monitor and also the wheel is positioned from you when you're in the seat. So there's a whole range of customizability options there in terms of moving things around. Obviously, with the Track Racer TR80, you do also, with the seat bracket, also get an adjustable seat slider, so you can adjust the seat backwards and forwards as well. A lot of range of motion there. When it comes to the pedal deck, you can pretty much position this wherever you want. You can bring it closer towards you, you can move it even further away if you're quite tall. Obviously, you can then adjust the amount of tilt angle that goes into the pedal deck as well to get the pedals in a nice comfortable position, which is obviously going to be great for the variety of different pedals that are out there. Some come a little bit more vertically positioned than others, so with that range of adjustment, you can get those pedals positioned exactly how you like them. So yeah, positioning, a whole range of possibilities and options, and likewise with upgradability as well. I've got the H shifter mounted here on the left hand side. I could quite easily have that over on the right if I wanted. I do have an additional mouse pad mounting option that I've got here, which allows me to obviously use the mouse whilst I'm sat in the rig. I can get a keyboard tray if I want. There's a couple of options for those, either a sliding one that's positioned underneath the wheel deck, or one that kind of is on an arm at the side that kind of swings backwards and forwards towards and away from you when you don't need it. There's just a whole range of upgradability and accessory options available on the Track Racer website, so you're pretty good there. The world's pretty much your oyster, providing you've got the space on the rig and you can properly and securely mount whatever the accessory is to the actual rig. So yeah, massive thumbs up there. So just before we get on to my final thoughts, I just want to touch base on the aesthetics again. I still absolutely love the look of this rig. It looks absolutely fantastic. I've had numerous friends over now who always are wowed and fascinated by it, wanting to give it a go. They just love the look of the rig sat here in the corner. The black anodized aluminium looks really nice. The only downside to having the black is that if you are moving things quite frequently, it can be quite easy to scratch the aluminium profile, so you do want to look out and be careful of that, and obviously take care when you're actually assembling the rig as well, that you're not scratching any or denting any of the aluminium profiles, because it will show up quite clearly. It's the only real downside in terms of the aesthetics, but otherwise it looks phenomenal. It feels great to be sat in. It provides a much more authentic experience compared to what I was used to of being sat in a desk chair with the wheel mounted to the desk. It feels a lot more like I'm actually sat in the car. I feel like I have a fair bit more control as well. I'm not having to deal with other factors such as the seat potentially moving around and moving out of position, getting that consistency, building up that muscle memory that I need to basically perform, set good lap times and be nice and consistent, with obviously nothing moving around and just everything being in the comfortable position that I like it. I could be sat nicely relaxed and just focus on the driving and not having to worry about any kind of flex or anything moving around or kind of distracting me in that sense. So overall, I am really impressed with the rig. It does add a greater immersion and authenticity factor, being sat in a more appropriate and closer to real life driving position. And yeah, I have noticed an improvement in terms of the consistency in my lap times, and probably pace in my lap times as well. Shaved a couple of tenths off, I think. So definitely really impressed with the rig. Can't recommend it enough. So if you are in the market potentially looking for a rig to purchase in the future, please do go check out the Track Racer. And if you use either of the two links down in the description below, like I mentioned at the start of this video, I will get a commission, and I'll be very thankful for the support with that. And of course, if you have any comments yourself, or you wanted to ask any other questions that I haven't covered here in the review or any of my recent videos covering the Track Racer TR80, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I possibly can. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. Also, consider hitting that subscribe button for more future content. Of course, you get notified if you hit that bell notification for each time that I go live or put a new video out. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Until the next time, have fun, stay safe, take care.